It is a sweltering, suffocating summer afternoon, and you are finally lying down, desperate to clear your mind, relax, or drift into a deeply needed sleep. Just as your eyes begin to heavy, a sharp, maddeningly aggressive and monotonous buzzing cuts straight through the silence right next to your ear. Before you can even react, a common housefly, Musca domestica, boldly lands directly on your forehead or the bridge of your nose. Its tiny, prickling legs scratch against your skin, triggering a wave of immediate, visceral irritation. You aggressively swat your hand through the air to drive it away. It launches into the air, loops effortlessly through the room, and within a single, precise second, it returns to land exactly back on the same spot on your face. This is the ultimate catalyst for pure domestic rage. Your blood boils, your muscles tense, and you are instantly driven into a frantic, single-minded mission to grab a rolled-up newspaper, a heavy magazine, or a plastic fly swatter to smash this agonizingly persistent nuisance into absolute oblivion. This toxic, explosive hostility is fueled by a massive, near-universal cultural narrative, the deep-seated belief that the housefly is nothing more than a completely brainless, dirty, and chaotic mistake of nature. We view it as a primitive biological malfunction, an evolutionary garbage container designed solely to ruin our meals, contaminate our clean surfaces, and deliberately torture human beings with its erratic, senseless navigation. We look at its constant, circular path around our ceiling fixtures as proof of an entirely empty, low-level intelligence that operates without a single shred of mechanical purpose. But that frantic, emotionally driven assumption is a staggering, profoundly uneducated lie. Not even close. In that exact fraction of a second when you are lifting your hand to strike, your brain is attempting to outmaneuver an elite, hyper-engineered evolutionary supercomputer. Far from being a mindless vector of filth, that tiny insect possesses a specialized processing matrix that allows it to analyze and react to the physical world a staggering 7 times faster than a human being. While you are locked in a state of primitive anger, treating this target as a basic, low-level bug, its internal visual processing speed is rendering your universe in absolute, sweeping slow motion. You are not chasing a simple, clumsy pest. You are engaging a high-frequency tactical pilot whose neurological refresh rate completely outclasses the processing speed of modern military drones. The moment you strip away your domestic frustration and crack open the true, high-stakes physics dictating its rapid response system, your entire perception of this household enemy will be completely turned upside down. Think about that for a second. The exact creature you treat as a brainless, annoying dot on your wall is actually a masterpiece of high-speed aerodynamics, carrying a biological processor so advanced that your fastest, most violent defensive strikes appear to it like the agonizingly slow movements of a sleeping sloth. To fully dismantle this hardwired household frustration, we have to strip away our irritation and confront a staggering biological reality. The common housefly is structurally engineered like an elite, high-performance racing drone. It is a masterpiece of kinetic agility. Try to snatch a fly out of the air with your bare hand, and you will fail in 99% of your attempts. This near-flawless evasion rate is driven by its massive, wraparound compound eyes, which are constructed from thousands of individual hexagonal lenses called ommatidia. This complex visual layout doesn't just give the fly a panoramic view of the room. It allows its nervous system to perceive changes in light and movement at an extreme frequency. Because its internal processing clock runs so fast, your aggressive, lighting-quick hand strike doesn't look fast at all. To the fly, you are moving through the room like a lumbering, heavily medicated sloth. It tracks your hand creeping toward it in deep, sweeping slow motion, giving its motor center a massive window of time to plan a perfect flight path out of danger. But the ultimate aerodynamic secret behind this unmatched agility lies right behind its primary wings, hidden within a pair of tiny, drumstick-like structures called halteres. These are heavily modified evolutionary remnants of hind wings that function exactly like built-in, high-precision mechanical gyroscopes. As the fly moves through the air, these halteres vibrate with a dizzying frequency that matches the beat of its main wings. They act as a real-time stabilization matrix, instantly measuring the fly's pitch, roll, and yaw in mid-air. Because of this constant gyro calibration, the housefly possesses a flight manual that human engineers can only dream of replicating. It can execute immediate 90-degree banked turns in a fraction of a millisecond, throw its engines into reverse to fly backward out of a tight corner, and confidently kill its momentum to land upside down on your ceiling while traveling at full velocity. It is an absolute pinnacle of organic aviation. However, keeping this elite navigation system operational requires a non-stop mechanical maintenance routine, turning its moments of rest into an intense process of scanning and calibration before it can ever face a direct human threat. This relentless focus on navigation and survival traps the housefly in a state of non-stop, high-frequency maintenance, revealing a hidden behavioral drama that completely flips the common human perception of this insect. Almost everyone has watched a fly land on a kitchen table, find a brief moment of stillness, and immediately begin frantically rubbing its front legs together. From our human perspective, this bizarre, repetitive gesture looks remarkably like a cartoon villain twiddling their thumbs, plotting malicious intent, or gathering filth specifically to contaminate your clean surfaces. But that interpretation is a complete misunderstanding of its anatomy. In reality, the housefly is performing a critical, high-stakes system calibration. This insect is not equipped with a traditional nose or a centralized tongue. Instead, its entire world is read through its feet. The housefly literally walks through its environment using its feet as its tongues and olfactory receptors. Its lower limbs are coated in thousands of hyperflexible microscopic hairs called gustatory sensilla, which serve as advanced chemical nanosensors. The moment a fly lands on a surface, these sensors instantaneously analyze the molecular structure of the material beneath it, tasting nutrients, detecting toxins, and measuring moisture levels in real time. Because it experiences the universe through this constant chemical contact, the fly acts exactly like a complex robot that must continuously calibrate its sensory arrays. Microscopic particles of floating household dust, sticky pollen grains, and oil residues from your furniture are constantly clinging to these sensitive hairs, threatening to block its data stream. If these nanosensors remain clogged for even a short period, the fly essentially loses its sight against odors, becomes completely blind to surrounding fuel sources, and loses its ability to read environmental pathways. When you see a fly rubbing its limbs, it is executing an urgent, mandatory cleaning routine, meticulously scraping away every single microscopic speck of debris from its sensory hairs. It is completely absorbed in a high-maintenance battle to keep its survival instruments operational, having absolutely zero interest in your emotional frustration. However, it is precisely this immaculate sensor maintenance that allows the fly's engine to perform under immense pressure when that routine is violently interrupted by a heavy object hurtling toward it from above. The moment you lift a heavy rolled-up magazine high above your head to deliver a lethal blow, you initiate an intense, microscopic dogfight where the physics of time completely shift in the fly's favor. For you, the downward swing happens in a split second. But for the housefly, watching from the table surface, that incoming weapon moves with the agonizing drag of a falling glacier. Its complex visual processors detect the shifting shadow instantly. Within a mere 100 milliseconds before your weapon can ever make physical contact, the fly's tiny brain has already computed the exact trajectory of the attack, calculated the optimal angle of evasion, and fed a direct motor command to its flight muscles. It leans its body away from the threat, snaps its wings into a high-frequency tilt, and executes a flawless, backward-facing jump into the air, vanishing from the impact zone before your hand even registers the miss. It is an unmatched demonstration of real-time kinetic navigation under extreme stress. But while this spectacular defensive reaction plays out across your kitchen table, a far more massive, planetary action sequence is unfolding on a global scale. If you were to successfully deploy a sci-fi weapon to wipe out every single housefly from existence, you would not create an idealized, pristine human utopia. Instead, you would immediately trigger a horrifying, apocalyptic ecological collapse. The larvae of the housefly function as the single most ravenous, hyper-efficient organic recycling engine on Earth. They are the frontline sanitation workers of the biosphere. Every single day, billions of tons of dead biological matter, rotting animal carcasses, decomposing plant debris, and discarded waste fall onto the surface of the planet. Without the unmatched decomposition speed of fly larvae, our entire global infrastructure would completely break down. Within a matter of weeks, our pristine forests, open fields, and suburban cities would transform into a choked, stagnant wasteland buried beneath a mounting tide of rotting organic material. The natural cycle of life, death, and soil rejuvenation would stall entirely. These intensely annoying insects are the crucial, unyielding gears that close the loop of the global food web, single-handedly converting the discarded remnants of death back into the vital nutrients needed to sustain life across the planet. When you reframe your household experience through this macro-level perspective, the old assumption that the common housefly is a completely brainless, defective intruder entirely dissolves into thin air. That frantic buzzing circling your kitchen table or window screen is not an evolutionary mistake designed solely to irritate human beings. It is a highly specialized, hyper-advanced biological supercomputer executing an unyielding, mission-critical sanitation routine across our entire global ecosystem. Where our localized frustration sees nothing but an annoying, dirty pest that needs to be crushed, natural selection recognizes a masterfully designed kinetic asset, a frontline recycling engine whose structural aerodynamics and real-time navigation matrices represent an engineering peak that human military science has still failed to perfectly replicate. Your sudden wave of deep domestic frustration when missing a swing with a rolled-up magazine is a completely understandable human response to an incredibly persistent target. But the next time you hear that high-frequency engine kick into gear, swing your plastic swatter through the empty air and realize the target has completely vanished from the impact zone. Take a slow breath and respect the stunning organic processing power operating right in front of you. You are matching wits with a precision biological flight unit that can analyze a threat, calculate an evasion angle, and execute a backward tactical takeoff in a fraction of a millisecond, reading your fastest physical strikes as if you were moving through mud. Go ahead and protect your fresh meals, maintain clear barriers, and put up high-density screens to keep your indoor spaces tidy. But as you watch that elite little pilot execute a flawless 90-degree banked turn to land upside down on your ceiling, drop the blind anger and admire the absolute peak of natural aviation. If this high-stakes microscopic dogfight completely flipped your script on the tiny processors buzzing through your summer afternoons, smash that like button and subscribe. Nature never deploys a high-speed stabilization matrix without a brilliant global purpose, and sometimes the most irritating little flyer in your house is the exact engineering marvel keeping the entire living world clear of decay.